I can see that you are working hard to get their attention and show them how valuable you are. You might be giving them all of your energy by calling and texting them and trying to stay close. However, what if you want to draw a new person who doesn't yet know what you have to offer? Many likely someone told you to keep the talk going, be there for them, and show that you care. Let me tell you a truth that will change everything. The more you talk, the more you show up, and the more you try to prove yourself, guess what? You're making yourself less valuable. They feel in charge when you feed their ego, but you're losing your power at the same time. What if you want to draw someone who seems far away? Maybe your partner, someone you've been with for a while, but feel like they're pulling away lately. You believe that if you reach out, explain yourself, and check in, it will be okay. But I want to know if that has ever worked. You know that the more you try to fix something with words, the farther away they seem to get, right? The thing is, it's not your words that will bring them back. It's your silence. Of course, most of us think that we'll lose them if we don't talk or explain things. You've been taught to believe that talking to them all the time will make them like you more. But the hard truth is that the more you talk and explain, the less they value your presence. You're not letting them experience what it's like when you're not there. The important thing is not to work harder, but to step back and let the silence speak for itself. Imagine that you're interested in meeting a new person, but instead of starting talks all the time, you wait for them to come to you. Or maybe your partner seems withdrawn, so you don't send them another message. Instead, you keep quiet. What takes place? They begin to think. Once they realize they're not in charge, they start to feel the lack of your attention. The silence makes their egos start to crumble. Friends, the most powerful thing you can use is silence. It makes them think about why you're not responding, which changes the whole situation. Philosopher Epictetus said, "Silence is safer than speech." This is because when you don't talk, you take away their power over you. You take back control. You let them know how much you miss being there. That's when they start to see how valuable you are, not when you're always there to explain, reassure, or beg for attention. Here's the challenge. Stop talking, stopping to explain, and stopping to chase. Let them be still and feel the change. If you're ready to stop feeding their ego with your words, click the like button right now. If you're ready to take back your power through silence, leave the phrase, "Silence is powerful," in the comments below. Now is the time to show them and yourself that you don't have to talk to be understood. But is silence enough on its own? Folks, the truth is that it's not. Not a single smart man will just sit there and wait for them to pay attention. That's not how it works. You're not just going to wait for them to come running to you. If you want to meet someone new or get back together with someone who seems distant, you need to use silence in a way that says more than words ever could. And this is very important. You need to use silence in a way that makes them feel your presence, even if you don't say anything. We're going to talk about how to get the most out of silence. It's not about mind games or being passive-aggressive. It's about being confident and intentional about being quiet. And we're going to talk about how to do that by using 7 timeless Stoic lessons. These lessons aren't just about being quiet. They're also about knowing when and how to be quiet so that they notice you in a way that sticks with them. I'm telling you, this movie will change the way you interact with other people. These Stoic principles will not only help them see how valuable you are, but they will also make you feel better about yourself. You will learn how to use silence to your advantage and change the balance of power in your favor. Now is the time to stop chasing and start attracting. Click the like button now and get ready to have your mind changed. Let's break down these lessons from Stoicism that will change how you deal with people. Wait until the end, because this is where the real power is. Number 1. Silence after being turned down or losing interest. Let's talk about the first silent lesson. Don't say anything when you're turned down or bored. There are many things that are hard to learn, but this is one of the most important ones. Think about it. What do you naturally do when you feel ignored or like someone you like isn't interested in you? For most of us, it's to act right away. If you really want to win them over, you should fix things or explain yourself. Here's where you go wrong though. Everything you say and do to try to change their mind is only meant to boost their ego. And by doing that, you make yourself less valuable. Let's talk about what happens when someone turns you down or pulls away. You might have been talking to a new person. Things were going well at first, but now they're not responding as much. The messages take longer to arrive, and the interest seems to fade. Before you know it, you can feel the sting of losing interest. What's next? Most people get scared. Now is the time to stop thinking about, maybe I should reach out again. Maybe I should do something to win their attention back. Stoic thought tells us that we can't control other people, but we can control how we react to them. You should never chase someone who has turned you down or pulled away. Why? Because it makes it clear, I need your approval. And nothing takes away your power faster than showing someone that you need their approval to feel good about yourself. Stoicism tells us that what makes us strong is not what other people think of us, but what we think of ourselves. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So what do you do when someone doesn't like you or rejects you? You don't say anything. That's right, you don't do anything. There shouldn't be any calls, texts, long justifications, or angry pleas. You just move back. I know that being quiet can make you feel like you've lost and are letting them go. The truth is that being quiet is the most important thing you can do right now. Something very interesting happens when you stay quiet after being turned down or feeling lack of interest. To begin, stop stroking their pride. They're ready to go, or at least they think they are, and they want you to chase after them. They will be confused if you don't respond the way they expect you to. They begin to question why you didn't fight back more strongly, beg for their attention, or try to explain yourself. The power changes all of a sudden when they are left with their own thoughts in that silence. You're in charge now, without saying a word. But keeping quiet isn't just to confuse them or make them think twice about what they're going to do. It's also to protect your own pride and sense of self-worth. Stoicism is all about being emotionally strong or not letting outside events affect you. Rejection doesn't mean someone doesn't like you. It just means they don't want to be with you. And those tastes might change. But if you don't say anything, you keep your cool, your honor, and your self-respect. You show that who you are is not based on whether they pick you or not. Let's say you've been seeing someone, and after a few great dates, they start to pull away. As a result, they write less, and when they do, it's not the same. What do most people do? In a fear. They text each other more as they try to figure out what went wrong. Some people might even ask for an explanation like, "Hey, is everything okay? Did I do something wrong?" This response may come from genuine worry, but to the other person, it looks like desperation, and desperation is the fastest way to lose attraction. Now let's look at the silent approach. You pull back when you see that they are losing interest. There were no words or actions meant to make a scene, just quiet. This moves says a lot. It tells them, "I respect myself enough not to chase someone who isn't interested," which means you're in charge of your feelings and won't let someone's uninterestedness change how you feel about yourself. When someone pulls away, it's usually because they're trying you, whether they're aware of it or not. They want to see how strong you are and how hard you'll fight to get their attention. But if you don't say anything, you break up that power play. You let them know that you're not going to play their game, which makes them think again. They start to wonder if pulling away was the right thing to do. And that doubt is strong. Silence doesn't just keep you safe, it often brings them back. Why? Just because you're different from everyone else. While everyone else is trying to get close to them and win them over, you're staying quiet. It looks great that you're not afraid to walk away. That kind of confidence and mental strength is very attractive. It makes them wonder what they're missing. And all of a sudden, things change. They think about you more, and a lot of the time they return. Now, does their quiet mean they'll be back? That's not the point, though. The point is that staying quiet lets you keep your honor and power no matter what happens next. You're not following their rules. You're following your own. That's what strong strength is all about. Not letting someone's short-term interest or lack of interest in you change how valuable you are. Remember this: the next time someone turns you down or isn't interested in what you have to say, silence is your best weapon. You are choosing to protect your power, self-worth, and mental strength. It doesn't mean you're giving up or backing down. It will work in your favor if you let them feel your absence and wonder why you are quiet. The point isn't to get them back. The point is to show yourself that you don't need anyone to feel whole. That's why quiet is so powerful. Once more, say this with me. Silence is strong. And stop whenever you want to chase something, describe something, or fix something. Remember that the only way to really be strong is to control yourself and let silence do the work. If you stay quiet, your honor will be protected, your value will rise, and the situation will change in your favor when they least expect it. When they need your answer the most, silence says the loudest. Let them feel how much you're missed and know how valuable you are in that silence. The second rule is to let silence speak when they want a response. Let's talk about letting silence speak when someone wants a response. In a relationship, this is one of the strongest things you can do. Think about a time when you were arguing with someone. They may have said something rude or were just laughing at you. They want you to answer, maybe to protect yourself, say sorry, or even argue back. That's not what you do, though. You stay quiet. Why does this work so well? Because people are trained to know what will happen when they bother you. They want to feel emotionally validated. They want to know that they have power over your emotions and that what they say or do affects you. But if you don't say anything, you take away their power. You show them that you are in charge of your feelings and not them. It's clear that this silence is stronger than any response. You're in a heated argument with someone, maybe your partner, or someone you're interested in. This phrase means, "I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of seeing me react." That person says something nasty that is meant to make you feel bad. Most people would move right away, either by protecting themselves or attacking back. But you choose quiet instead of getting caught up in the emotional chaos. You stop, take a deep breath, and don't say a word for a moment. They have to face their own behavior because of this silence. People will wonder why you didn't answer. It makes them feel bad because they can't predict or control how you'll feel. You change the balance of power in that moment of silence. You have shown that you are strong and won't let anyone get you to respond emotionally. Silence also gives you time to think. The other person has time to think about what they said or did when you don't answer. They may have realized they were wrong, that what they said hurt someone, or that what they did wasn't necessary. When you keep quiet, they have to deal with how uncomfortable their actions are. And a lot of the time, they change their minds without you having to say a word. Mastering your responses is one of the most important ideas in Stoicism. You stay in charge of yourself when you don't react on impulse and choose silence over emotional outbursts. This is very strong, especially in relationships, because you don't let the situation control you. It shows that you are mature, strong, and value yourself. Keep this in mind the next time someone tries to get you to react. Silence is your strongest answer. If they want you to lash out, protect yourself, or start an argument, choose silence instead. Let them think and wonder, and let your quiet say what you want it to say. That's where your real power is. Number 3, use silence to make them miss you. Let's talk about how to make them miss you through silence. Sometimes, just being quiet can change the whole mood of a relationship. This is true whether you're just starting to connect with someone or trying to bring back the spark with someone who seems distant. This is the opposite of following and over-communicating, and it gives them time to figure out what your presence really means. The truth is that people start to take you for granted when you're always there, talking, texting, and accessible. You're always there, so there's no reason to miss you or feel rushed. They know they can always get your attention. People start to notice something is different when you step back and let silence fill in the spaces where your words or attention used to be. That's when they know you're not there, and it leaves a hole they can't fill. Remember a time when you missed someone. It wasn't because they were always there, trying to get your attention. It was because you had time to think about what they brought to your life when they weren't there. You saw what you were missing. This is the same idea. Letting them be alone in silence lets them feel your absence and wonder why you're not running after them like everyone else. There was a time when you were really into someone, but now things aren't as hot as they used to be. Maybe they're not reacting as quickly, or the thrill may be wearing off. People would probably text or call more, or ask what's wrong in response. But this is where being quiet is the most helpful thing you can do. You don't try harder. Instead, you back off. You stop starting talks and let the silence speak for itself. It might feel weird at first, like you're not doing anything when you should be. But that's the beauty of quiet. Not inactive. It's a move that was meant to be made. They have time to miss you and learn that they can't always count on your attention. Once they don't hear from you in a while, like texts or calls, they start to feel curious and even longing. These thoughts start to fill the space you've left behind. Why aren't they reaching out? Did I do something wrong? Have they moved on? Not only does silence make them miss you, it also shows them how valuable you are again. Making yourself always available sends the message that your time and attention are easy to get, which lowers your value. But when you're not as easy to reach, when they have to work for your presence, you show them how valuable you are. That's when things start to go against you. They start to want the attention you used to give them easily. Remember that silence builds tension, and tension builds desire. Most people try to be heard all the time, so the person who knows when to be quiet stands out. It's a way to have power, keep people in line, and hide things. It shows that you're not needy, that you don't need their attention to feel good about yourself, and that you can emotionally pull away when you need to. In Stoic thought, we learn that self-control, not desire, should decide what we do. You show a level of self-control that most people don't have when you use silence well. They'll be drawn to you because you're sure of yourself, so you don't have to try to get their attention. Remember this the next time you feel like you need to do something to win them over. Sometimes, doing nothing is the best thing you can do. Let the silence do its thing. Let them miss you and feel what it's like to not have you around. And that's where they'll start to see how valuable you really are. Number 4, silence. When setting boundaries. Let's talk about how to use silence to set limits, which is an important but often forgotten relationship tool. No matter how long you've been together or how new the relationship is, setting limits is important for keeping the peace and respect. But most people get it wrong because they describe too much. But you only have real power when you make your boundaries clear and let quiet do the rest. Say someone is pushing you out of your comfort zone. They might be asking for too much of your time, energy, or emotions. You already told them once what your limits are, but they keep pushing those limits. A lot of people would feel like they need to explain why they can't say yes or give more. They would explain things in great detail, hoping the other person would get it. But here's the truth. The more you talk, the less strong your case is. It's not necessary to explain why you set a limit. Most of the time, telling someone your boundary often lets them know that it's flexible and open to conversation or compromise. If you set a firm boundary and then remain silent, you send a clear message that you won't be moved. This is where I stand, and there's no need to justify it. Take the case of someone who keeps asking you to do something that makes you tired. They might be asking for a favor over and over, or they might want more attention than you can give. I'm really tired. I have so much going on. I wish I could help. Just say I'm not available for that. There is no need for any more explanation. Then there was quiet. This silence makes your barrier stronger. You're saying that you're sure of your choice, and there's no room for discussion. The other person will feel the weight of your quiet and have to follow the rule you formed. At first, it might feel weird, especially if you're used to giving reasons or trying to make other people like your choices more. But in fact, being quiet after setting a limit shows that you respect yourself and are emotionally mature. When you set limits, silence is also important because it gives the other person time to think about your choice. People may focus on your reasons and try to find holes, or ways to get you to change your mind if you give them a lot of reasons. But if you don't say anything after setting a limit, they are left to think about the boundary itself. It doesn't leave any room for thought. Stoic philosophy teaches us that the best way to keep our inner peace is to stay in charge of how we react. In this case, silence means sticking to your morals without needing help from other people. You're not trying to convince anyone of your point of view or get their agreement. You're just keeping your ground. Make your limit clear the next time you need to set one, and then let the silence speak for itself. Let them know how strong your self-respect is and how firm your attitude is. In this situation, silence is your best friend. Number 5. Silence as a tool of mystery. When it comes to hanging out with someone, silence is one of the best ways to make things mysterious. People are naturally interested in things they don't fully understand, and silence is a great way to make people feel that way. When you use silence to create surprise, you're not just not saying anything, you're also making people feel like they can't tell what will happen next, which makes them want to know more. If you tell someone everything about your life, including everything you think, feel, and plan, in the beginning stages of getting to know them, you leave nothing to the imagination. The thrill wears off because no one is interested anymore. There is less of a surprise when you are too open too soon. But if you don't say anything or let silence fill some places, it makes them wonder about you, your feelings, your thoughts, and what's going on in your mind. You are not supposed to play games. You are supposed to keep some things to yourself. When there is silence, it leaves gaps that make them want to know more. People will start to wonder things like, why didn't they say that? What are they thinking? What's next? This keeps them involved and interested in you. It's interesting that you become someone they can't quite figure out. Not being open all the time is another way that silence adds mystery. It makes people think when you don't always answer right away and leave some talks open-ended. It lets them wonder and guess what you're going to do next. And that guessing creates tension, the kind of tension that makes people want to be with you. Stoicism tells us to think about what we do and say before we do it. Less talking is sometimes more powerful than talking all the time. By not telling them everything, you keep control of what they know about you and make them want to know more. Don't feel like you have to explain everything or fill every empty space. Remember this: mystery draws people in. Watch how your silence brings them closer and keeps them interested as it speaks for itself. Number 6. Use silence to break patterns. One of the best and least talked about ways to change the dynamics of a relationship is to use silence to break habits. It's easy to see how new or long-term relationships tend to follow the same trends. These could be repeated fights, outbursts of anger, or even the way you talk to each other every day. When these cycles happen over and over, the partnership stops moving forward and can even become harmful. That's why quiet is so powerful. It can break these patterns and make the energy between you and the other person brand new. Let's say you and your partner are in a relationship, and every time you argue, you have the same argument. Maybe they say something bad about you, and you get defensive right away. It's also possible that you always say sorry and try to make things better, even when it's not your fault. You and your partner both know exactly what will happen, which makes you both tired and angry. This loop is bad, and you're making it worse every time you act the same way. What if you did something different? What would happen if you didn't say anything? One of the most important things that Stoic philosophy teaches is how to control your emotions. You break the cycle right away when you refuse to respond the way they want you to. If you're used to protecting yourself or making things worse all the time, being quiet will throw them off. Often, it will stop the argument in its tracks because it makes them stop and think about the trend. At this point, silence can help you keep your cool and keep things from getting worse. It's not used to control you, though. It's used to protect your peace. You're not avoiding the problem when you choose silence. You're giving it room to breathe, time to calm down, and the chance to keep the talk from turning into something harmful. If you don't say anything, the other person has to deal with their actions without your feelings getting in the way. They're not getting anything from your answer anymore, and they'll often be left alone to think about what they did without the usual back and forth. When people talk to each other every day, silence can also break routines. It can be unhealthy if you're always the one starting talks, keeping things going, or being there for people emotionally. Stop talking and let it be quiet for a while. This will force the other person to meet you halfway. They'll notice when you're not doing all the work, which can make things more fair and encourage everyone to work together. To break these patterns with quiet doesn't mean not talking or ignoring problems. It means taking a step back to stop unhealthy cycles and give both people a chance to think. Here, people can talk to each other in a healthy way. The tension that quiet creates isn't bad. It's helpful. It stops people from reacting in the same old ways and lets them choose new ones. After the next time you feel stuck in a bad cycle or a fight, do something different. Break the pattern with silence. It will give you time to think and help you recover control of your emotions. If there is tension or unbalance in a relationship, silence can help bring it back to a state of peace and understanding. Number 7, the silence of emotional control. Now, let's talk about the quiet of being in charge of your emotions. Emotional control is one of the most useful skills you can learn for any interaction. It's the main idea behind Stoic thought and the difference between people who are always reacting and people who can get along with others. The person who can control their feelings and stay cool, collected, and quiet in the face of chaos has a lot of power. Let's say you're in the middle of a heated argument. It's possible that your partner or the person you're interested in says something upsetting or challenging that makes you feel something. When they feel this much mental pressure, most people act right away. It's either to get back at someone or to try to win the fight. But that's exactly what the other person wants, and it lets them control how you feel. When you act without thinking, you give them control over your emotions. What if you did the opposite? You would stay quiet. There is no reaction. You don't protect yourself or argue right away. You just take a deep breath and let the moment go by without saying anything. Your mental control is clear in that silence. They show that you're not easily upset, that your feelings don't control you, and that you can stay calm even when things are heated. The strong message of this quiet is that you can't be moved. When you learn to control your emotions through silence, you make it impossible for them to change or manage the situation. The other person is left to deal with their own feelings, and since your response doesn't add fuel to the fire, They have to face their actions. In this case, being quiet doesn't mean avoiding the problem. It means staying strong and not letting the situation control what you do. To be Stoic means to believe that we are only responsible for our own actions and responses, not those of other people. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not over outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Being quiet can help you control your emotions in the same way. You're not trying to control the other person, but you do have power over how you talk to them. This amount of control is also attractive in relationships because it shows that you are sure of yourself and value your own opinions. When you don't say anything in response to someone's rude behavior, they will understand that they can't bother you. This can be very scary for someone who is used to making other people feel strong emotions. There is also a clear line set. You won't play emotional games, and you won't let anyone tell you how to feel. You can think when you're in charge of your emotions. Instead of responding without thinking, you can think about what's going on and carefully decide what to do next. It's up to you to decide if the problem is even worth talking about or if going quiet is better. This calm, collected method helps you keep your emotions in check, which in turn keeps the relationship in check. When you're emotionally stable, being quiet doesn't mean you don't want to talk to people. It means you show that you're in charge of your emotions and that no one can make you respond unless you let them. People find this kind of control very attractive because it shows maturity, strength, and steadiness, all of which are important for a healthy, strong relationship. Remember this the next time you want to react emotionally. Silence can be your best friend. It's not a sign of weakness. It's the best way to show how strong and emotionally in control you are. There's more to silence than just not speaking. It's a strong tool that can change the way any relationship works. Mastering silence is a way to show power, mystery, and emotional control. Whether you're trying to meet someone new or get back in charge of a relationship that is far away, stop responding and start using silence in a smart way to make yourself more present. If you want to take charge of your relationships, click like and leave a comment below with the words, "I am silent strength," to show that you are determined to learn how to use this powerful tool. Let's take pride in our power together.